there, I'm Candace. This is my pal Jim, and we are really excited to get to some new Real Cedar do-it-yourself projects and plans. Today we're doing a unique and cool idea on an outdoor table. Jim, what is going to make this table the talk of the town?
Well, it's going to be a nice, sleek, kind of modern outdoor table that's going to look great outdoors, but could grace any dining room as well. It's also going to be unique in that it's going to have a icebox in the center of it that you can throw a few beers in, a bottle of wine. Yeah.
You had me at icebox.
There you go.
We're going to be following these step-by-step plans, which you can download in the link or go to realcedar.com. Let's make a table.
Let's do it.
We're using a really beautiful naughty grade of Western Red Cedar, which is perfect for any cabin, cottage, or even just your backyard. So Jim, what are the dimensions?
Well, we're going to be using 2x6, 2x4, 2x2, and 1x6 today. And the first step is going to be putting together the outer frame of the table, and we're just going to dive right into that.
Perfect. Let's do it. So Jim, now we're moving on to the inner frame. And if you're looking for a list of materials and dimensions, go to realcedar.com for the free downloadable plans. What's next?
Next, we're going to build a 2x4 portion of the internal frame. The only one thing to keep in mind here is to make sure that these long rails are either straight, or if they have a slight crown to them, which a lot of lumber does, crown them up. That's kind of a truism in construction. You normally crown things up or away. And that's it. And we're just going to dive right into this and get going.
Perfect.
Okay, so we've taken the outer frame and slipped it over the inner frame. Now we want to take this inner frame and bring it up flush with the top here. So we're just going to do that right now. So we're just going to pull it. It's tight, but it's doable. So, but you want to get real precise. So we're looking good. We're looking good. You could also cut a little block and force it up if you had to, but in our case, it's easy. Okay, so we put the outer frame over the inner frame, and now we've pulled the inner frame up flush. We want to get it right on flush. That's just kind of a general thing that'll make these projects a lot more fun. Whenever you're doing something, just try and make it as true as possible. Make sure every cut's square or whatever it needs to be. And then overall, we also want to make sure the whole structure is square. So what we're going to do is do a diagonal measurement, and both these measurements want to be the same. So we have 76 and 3/8. Candace, there you go. 76 and 3/8. So that tells us that this is absolutely square, which is great. If it wasn't square, you'd rack it. You'd kind of hit it from either end and kind of make it do what you want it to do. And that would be something to do before you screwed it all together here, because it just gets harder the more you put the thing together. So now we know it's true, it's perfect. So let's just start screwing it together. Okay, now Candace is going to bring us the 2x2s, which will complete the internal frame here. So here they come.
Jim, this wood smells fantastic.
Oh, the aroma of cedar. Lovely.
Yes.
Thank you. Perfect. So these 2x2s, they're here, one, to define the icebox, as you see here, to add depth to the icebox. They're also here so that they give us a place to screw into the top once we put the top boards on. Because our next step here, after we fasten these, is to flip this, and we'll place it on the boards, the top that will be the top, all aligned along here. Then we'll blind screw through these components into the top, so you won't see any fasteners. Okay, so this is all the material we're going to use for the tabletop. What we're going to do is we're going to take it over there, we're going to lay it out roughly, and we're going to select for the faces that we want to see for the tabletop, and also for color too, because this color, there's quite a bit of variation in color here, and we'll try and make a pleasing combination.
I love this rich grain and the warm, beautiful hues of this. It's gorgeous.
Oh, cedar is so diverse, and the colors are just amazing. Anyway, let's move them over. There we go. Okay, that might be a nice center. We'll just roughly select now. Ooh, almost clear.
Yeah, I like that one.
So that could be maybe here. And this is very... Okay.
Yeah.
So we've got the, these are the pieces we're going to use for the tabletop again.
Yeah.
Now we've selected for tonal quality already. We found something that we're happy with when it comes to all the tones.
Yeah, I love
so that's
these two
good.
right here.
So now the next step is to select the side that we want facing up when the table is complete. Now because of the way we're going to put this table together, that'll mean that that face is facing down. So we don't get confused as carpenters, we'll often use tape. So we don't have to repeat the process a bunch of times because we forgot which side was which. So here we go. So we'll look at this. What do you think? That's nice side. Yep.
Yeah, other side.
So that's our face
Yep.
for sure. So here we go. And now we're going to flip it, and it's in the right position.
Okay.
Off to this one. That's pretty. There's nothing wrong with it. I think
love
that's
this
nice.
little part
Yeah,
right
you
here.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that too.
Yeah.
And it's got nice color.
Lots of knots.
Lots of knots. Beautiful. Okay, so we flip that. Oh yeah, all sorts of tones in this one. So that's definitely the side we want up.
Okay.
Okay, so we're happy with our top
Yep.
selection. We're looking at the back side now. So our next step will be to space these out, cut the center hole for our icebox, and then bring over the tabletop, place it on top, and screw it all together.
Perfect.
So what we're looking at here is the center of the table. What this will be the hatch to the icebox. So what we want to make sure here is we've taken one board and cut it. We want to make sure that all the faces are down. Again, we used our green tape on all three pieces. And then we also want to make sure that the grain all lines up. So it's one full board running straight through. This is very distinctive grain, so it's very easy. That's cool. Next thing we're going to do here is we've been putting, with this router, we've been putting little edges on, we've been taking the edges off a lot of the members here, and just to make it kind of a softer look. You could do it with a hand plane, or you could do it with a sander as well. But so we've done all these boards. We won't be able to do these after the fact, so we're just gonna use the router on that edge, that edge, that edge, and that edge, and before we assemble it. Once we've done that, we're going to put the whole tabletop, we're gonna even up one end, roughly though, it doesn't really matter, because you'll see the way we're putting this together. We're gonna put the table down, we're gonna screw it all together, and we're gonna do the final end cuts after the fact. So we're gonna put it together with 3 of these per board.
Okay. Just like that?
Yep, just like that. Yep. You can just go on up. These are pre-made shims. They're 1/8 of an inch. We use them all the time. You can reuse them as well. They're cheap. You use them for tile, use them for all sorts of things. So that's just the easiest way to do it. You could also cut some little wood blocks if you wanted to too. Okay, so we've been inserting our shims, 3 per board. We've lined this up roughly. We've moved along. Now we're at the center board when it comes to the shim installation. So here, now is the time to do the routering. So I'm going to take out the board. You only need to do the upper face, which is the green side. I'll do this.
And Jim, this looks fantastic. Real Cedar is such a great choice because it only comes from sustainably managed sources, meaning it's completely renewable.
Okay, so now it's time to get back to the shims. We've cut the lid for the icebox. So now we're going to want to put a couple shims on either side there, and then don't forget these ones Candace is putting in. That allows us to get the door out. So we got to make sure those are in. They don't want that to be tight. And then we're going to put another 2 there for that one.
Right here?
Yep.
Okay.
1 and 1 there, and then another 2 down there. And then we'll repeat the process and work with these shims all the way to the end. Okay, so we've got all the shims
Yep.
in. We've made sure that it's nice and tight this way, nice and tight that way, especially for the lid of the cooler.
Yep.
Now what we're going to do is we're going to go take the frame, which we made earlier, and we're going to bring it and put it down on top of the tabletop.
Okay.
So the important part there is this is the lid of the icebox. We want to make sure we find dead center of the lid of the icebox. We've measured out here. We put 2 tiny marks here. Now we know how to align the base. So our next move is to go get the base.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so we know by the icebox that we're pretty well at exactly this where we want to be, but we're just going to check that by going to each corner. And we're looking at inch and 13/16. Same. Same. So we're good. So we're in the right spot. We know we're good this way. Now we're going to start screwing it down. So basically, when you're working with a 2x2 especially, just try and stagger the screws as much as you can, just so you're not on the same grain line all through, and you'll avoid splitting it. So you'll see how I kind of, even just jumping over 1/2 inch makes a big difference. Okay, our next move is to flip this over and do the end cuts. We're going to do that because if we put the legs on first, we'll run into problems with our router. So because we're using a router, that's why we're doing this step kind of thing. So in order to mark it, as opposed to just flipping it over and then just trying to guess where your marks are, we're going to mark it first and then flip it. Okay, I got my inch and 13/16. I've done this. Now I'll do this. And this is just to transfer it to the top so you're not awkwardly kind of looking underneath. Okay, so we flipped the table. Now these marks that I brought around, you can see what I was up to then. And now I bring them up like this. Now, we're gonna get into something here. We're gonna rip this with a skill saw. There's a couple things on your skill saw because you'll use it for cutting landscape ties one day and building fine furniture the next. So what we usually do is check our base. This one's not bad. If they're nicked up, they may scratch the soft cedar. So we would take masking tape and just tape up our bases. Okay, so that takes care of that. Another thing too, if your blade isn't perfectly sharp or it's more of a framing type blade, what we would do here is we would tape off the cutoff. You do this with brittle materials too. You do this. Okay. Now we put our mark up. You do this when you're cutting arborite or plastic laminate, things like that. It's just a good kind of trick if your blade's not perfect. One thing about us is we are going to be using a router, so even if it did chip out a bit, we wouldn't care too much, but let's just do it for this one.
So if you're not comfortable doing this freehand as Jim did, you could always clamp a straight edge to this and use it as a guide. So Jim, now we're going to ease the edge, and we can either use a block plane, a palm sander, or in our case, a router.
Yes, exactly. Okay, so now we're going to flip it one more time.
Okay.
And we're doing this so we can put the legs on in an easy fashion. So off we go.
Okay.
There we go.
So Jim, these legs are really aesthetically pleasing. So what are we going to do with these?
Well, as you say, they're very important to the overall look of the table. They kind of make the table. So that's why we're using that. And then essentially, one element is cut out of 2x6, one's cut out of 2x4. The 2x6 element, you want to be able to see it from the side of the table. So that dictates where this one goes. The 2x4 element is visible from the end. So what we're going to do, we're going to pre-drill these because we're using those big screws. And these big shear screws have quite the shank on them. So whenever we use them, we tend to pre-drill. You pre-drill based on the size of that part of the shank. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to walk around the table putting these legs together. Okay, so we've set up a drill over there with the appropriate size bit, and away we go.
So Jim, we're almost done. How are we going to get this lid off?
We're going to drill a couple holes in here. We're going to
Okay.
drill them out and then run the rudder around it inside, and we're done.
Sounds good.
That's it.
Jim, this table turned out so perfect.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I absolutely love it. So how are we gonna finish it, or what are we gonna do?
I think we're just going to leave it, and we're going to let it go that silvery patina that cedar
yeah.
likes to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's how we're going to do it.
This kind of cedar is just perfect for all outdoor weather.
Yes.
So, and Real Cedar is pitch and resin free, so it takes extremely well to oils and stains. You can finish this any way you want to match all of your decor or designs. It's really versatile.
Yeah, that's right. It's also resistant to rot and insects as well. So it's perfect choice for any outdoor project such as this.
And Jim, we made this beautiful bench too.
We did, yeah. The bench is more or less a mini table, and yeah, you can download the plans for that as well.
We hope you liked this video. If so, give us a like and subscribe. And for more DIY videos, check here. You can download all these free plans on the link in the video description or at realcedar.com.